You homestead honeys, what do you got going on today?
Hi, and welcome to Toka, Oklahoma, just about 20 miles north.
So this is
Do you want to
Carrie.
cut that off?
She's on our, no, we're good.
I'm on your team.
She's on our team, our tribe, as they say in
Our
homestead world. And this is my beautiful angel right there.
We're sister cousins.
Cousins, sisters, more sisters than cousins. What do you got going on in here?
We hope it will be supper.
It looks kind of interesting.
So what we're doing is I had a couple of barrels, and well, my objective was to be able to can more than 8 canned jars at a time, because that just takes way too long.
Right.
So I had these barrels, and so I cut one of them about.
You cut this personally yourself?
I did with a grinder.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a little cut-off blade. And anyway, so I cut me a little door. I'm not a welder.
Well,
so
open up the door and
don't
show us
cry
what you
if
got
I'm
in
welding.
here.
And I don't want to get the jeans dirty. So anyway, we've got the intake for the air for the fire comes up from underneath. That's why it's set up on these blocks, so I can adjust my heat and my fire by adding or removing those blocks like that. And then we've got the wood in here. We want to get as big a coal bed as possible. And then that's what's going to keep our heat at the right temperature.
Right.
You want a rolling boil for 3 solid hours in this thing. So the door makes it easy to put our wood back in there. And then we can retain it and keep all the heat back inside. Now we went ahead and put this on here. Originally my design was to invert this and do it the other way, but obviously that won't work. So
A little
we
close.
have to match the round edges. So
Right.
I have a big piece of plate steel that eventually we'll put on here, so we can just set pans on top, light these things up, and then we can cook wherever we want to.
Sure.
Basically.
Show them the other size pot, and we were doing only 8 at a time, and you have to wait for the rolling boil, and then
We
you
were
have
doing
a
it
whole
on
3 hours
this.
of cooking, and it takes a long time doing only 8 at a time, and we're doing large quantities.
Right.
Did you count them?
No, I did not. I did not.
I'd say we've got
Probably
close to 20.
3, 10, 20, probably 20 to 23 or 4 of the pints, and then whatever that is 8 of the quarts.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna give you the lid and start letting this thing percolate.
Yeah. So we're going to set this on here and
Look at that.
let it percolate. It's not a tight seal, so that
Don't want
it's
it to
got
be.
the pressure can come out.
Right, right,
If it builds up pressure, because your boiling water is going to lap up about an inch or
right,
2.
right,
And so you don't want it plumb up to the surface. You want it down a
right.
little bit, but you want a good inch covering or so over the tops of your jars.
All right, here's your disclaimer. Should you hear or see chickens in the background, those are not our chickens. Ours all died in a boating accident. Those are neighbors' chickens that live far, far away. So, anyway, we do not. Bird flu, we don't have chickens. Sorry. There's no place to come and get your chickens here. So, anyway, there's your disclaimer.
It's the effort.
So you cut the door out with the blade also, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it's just a little real thin grinder blade. It's called a cutoff blade,
And then,
basically. And then I had some old hinges, and the different types of metal will melt at different
Right,
rates, and so this is extra ugly.
it's all right.
But like I
Nobody's
said, I'm
paying
not a
attention to
welder
that.
by trade at
If
all.
it works, it works.
Yeah, it's almost like glue. I would super glue
And
it.
this is a trial, so we'll see. And if
Yeah.
it works, we're going to do a happy dance.
Oh, it can't help but work. We're not worried about
I'm
that.
thinking it's going to work.
Yeah.
Because the little pot and 8 at a time takes.
Yeah, that's for the birds.
Yeah. So after 3 hours of a rolling boil, we'll take these off, and we've got
And
our
in case he didn't mention, this is water bathing meat.
water bathing. Yes, meat. Sorry.
Who's that?
We've got chicken and mail.
Early today.
Yeah, special delivery, Christmas time. So, let me just pan over here and show you some of the cans we've already got put together. Okay, so we got fine granulated salt they're going to be using for doing our salt pork. Here's some of the cans that we did yesterday, and got more going on here. Pink Himalayan. So, I don't know. That's kind of the. These have not been cooked yet, so. All right, Carrie. What's the biggest reason we need to be focusing on preparing food like this?
Well,
reasons is that we found out a couple of years ago that sometimes we have extended times of outages. I know about 15, 20 years ago we had 2 weeks without electricity, and we had really no way to cook anything unless you had gas. And then, of course, by then they start price gouging on the generators, and you couldn't find a generator anywhere. So
Propane, LP.
propane was the only thing if you already had it.
Yeah.
Which we did not. So it was pretty rough for a while. So I just determined since then, because we live in an area that has very frequent outages, and some of them last longer than others, that it would be the smart thing to do for people that like to kind of stock up, especially through the winter months, to find their bargain price meat and that they can stock up on, and then find a way to can it. And canning meat, this is not USDA approved, let me state that. This is the way that has been canned since probably the dawning of time.
Since glass.
When food preservation became a thing. And so everybody has to make up their own mind, but this is not pressure canning, and it's not government approved. That being said, as a disclaimer, everything you do at your own risk. And
Do your own research on how to do
your
this.
research. We've done a boatload of research on several different sites. There's some really good pages on Facebook that have groups that you can discuss, cuss and discuss if you want to, and find those things that they did right, the things they did wrong. And I found out that you can water bath just about everything and anything. And so I don't pressure cook. I've seen too many accidents happen with those where it absolute is catastrophic. So some people choose that and some don't. You could pressure cook technically with something like this with a grate on top of it if you had a way to manage your fire and keep it at a steady rate. So,
And that's kind of a big key to keeping your oil in boil is consistency in your fire. It's easy to just walk off and get started on another project, but this is kind of a hands-on. Somebody needs to be guarding the station at all times to keep the fire going.
Especially if you have the smaller ones going on, because your water obviously dissipates or evaporates into the air as it's boiling, and so you're going to have a certain amount of water that comes off. Now, I will say that you do need to have a separate pan of boiling water ready to go, because once this hits a rolling boil, my experience with the smaller pans is about every 15 minutes I have to add water. You want to keep the tops covered at all times. And so this is, we've got a little bit of steam in here.
Yep.
So it is heating up relatively quickly, considering the volume of water that's in there.
So now that you've got the lid on there, you could actually take pans like this and fill them up with water, set it on top,
Possibly.
and get it close enough to the same temperature to just add to it as you need to.
You don't want to add cold water,
No.
and you do want to start everything cold. Cold product in your jar, your disinfected jars that you've either boiled to disinfect them, or you have left them in the oven. I think I do mine at 225 for 20 minutes. Everyone has their own thing, and then I'll have the lids need to be sterilized as well in boiling water.
And if you're doing any kind of canning, I don't care if it's just jelly, do your research. Nobody wants botulism or
No, definitely not.
any of those other kind of diseases. So
Now, and then you want to, after everything starts to cool, the advantage here is you can leave it in this and let it all cool. You don't want to put cold jars into hot boiling water. They will crack, they will blow up, they will break, it will ruin your day.
yeah,
And all the hard work
and your product you're trying to
money
can.
that you put into getting that, especially if it's meat.
So, on another quick note about your firewood, every type of wood has different burning degrees. Some of it's soft, burns real quick, creates lots of ash wood. Some of it's hardwood. Preferably, you want to always use hardwood on these. Get your basic holes going, but if you use hardwoods, it's a whole lot easier to regulate your temperature. And then again, you're using not as much firewood if you're using the hardwood. So.
Well, that and too, you don't want to use, in general, sappy wood. You don't want to use cedar. You don't want to use those other woods, namely because
Pine.
the juice that comes off of that will gather up on the bottom of here, and then it's like tar,
And
and
turns
you
into
can't put it out.
It's a flame hazard. Yeah.
And so now, if you want to start a fire, you can get a tiny little splinter like this off of a pine knot, and they're awesome. They'll burn like a match, and then that will get your fire started. But just to be burning cedar wood, I would not recommend it. Cedar, pine, any of the real sappy.
And this girl has been burning, only heating her house with a wood stove for how long now?
About 8 years.
Yeah. So she's the voice of authority on this. So she is a real. I've been trying to get her own YouTube channel, and she's got a couple social network things that she's good on, but she is a walking encyclopedia. So, anyways, anything else you want us to talk about, or?
No, I'm going to be answering questions. I just have to access the data in my brain.
Yeah.
That's all. I do want to talk about this design. It's real important that you've got a good air intake and an air inflow. While I was watching it, you could actually see that it's not doing it now. I think because this is open, but you could see it sucking in the air from beneath here. And we're trying to get the fire to get hotter and hotter right now. So we're trying to get a little burn through. You really want a good pile of ash in there to where you can just kind of keep adding more wood to it as you keep going.
At some point, you may want to put a grid in the bottom just to help with that, separating the ash from the wood, keeping it up off the ground. And you could even kind of tunnel that out a little bit where you could get one of those small fireplace shovels and scoop the ash out. If you're going to be doing this, all day or whatever.
Yeah, and you could even cut this out with a shovel and just do a little shovel hole full, and that will bring in that extra air under there, because you've got to have fuel and air just like in a carburetor.
And the ash will block off your air intake eventually.
It will, so you need to be able to kind of poof that out every now and then, probably not with your shoe. But
all right. Do not use green wood on this. No. You'll be chasing your tail. So, all right. It's been kind of an extended video and more than we usually do. I hope this was helpful to somebody. And it comes down to it. You want to build this before you lose your electricity. And the way it's sounding, as Brandon once said, it's going to be a long, hard, dark, cold winter. So. Bella, what do you got to say? All right, thanks for watching. I would say happy holidays, but Thanksgiving's already gone, so we're going to have to say Merry Christmas. And look, the Cardinals are back. I love it. It's the only good thing about winter. We don't like winter too much around here. All right, thanks for watching. And, honey, what do we always say?
See you down the road.
See you down the road. Thanks for watching.